Rick and Morty is still trying to reinvent itself 12 years after it started, and a risky series premiere has thankfully just paid off. No one can dispute Rick and Morty's inventiveness, even though the show was criticized after Justin Roiland left because Season 7 was filled with risky bets that didn't all pay off. As the lowest-rated episode of Rick and Morty to date, Rise of the Number Icons, the movie was the first to completely sideline Rick. The franchise might have been discouraged from taking more chances as a result of the unsatisfactory reception, but this hasn't happened. To date, Rick and Morty has never fully removed the focus from its main characters, even with its abundance of amazing supporting characters. Although Beth, Jerry, and Summer have been the main characters in many previous episodes, Rick and Morty are typically still heavily featured in these excursions. The series has never, at least not until The Rick, the Mort and the Ugly, sidelined both of its main characters for nearly the whole run. Similarly, Valkyric gave Rick his first real solo episode without Morty after Season 7 did the opposite. The adventure primarily centers on Homesteader Rick and Arcade Morty, though there are numerous other alternate versions of the characters that make an appearance throughout the episode, even though the main Rick and Morty from the show do make an appearance at the start and finish. Since the episode centers on Homesteader Rick exacting revenge on the Rick clones who shot him while rescuing the captured Morty clones, he takes center stage. The main protagonists of the episode are Arcade Morty and himself, who, although not directly involved in the action, plays a pivotal role in the adventure's conclusion. Rick or Morty typically play a significant supporting role in an episode that centers on someone like Summer, but in Season 8, Episode 3, both main characters were hardly present. Rick or Morty typically play a significant supporting role in an episode that centers on someone like Summer, but in Season 8, Episode 3, both main characters were hardly present. Even without the main versions of Rick and Morty, the Rick, the Mort and the Ugly was able to succeed despite the fact that this decision was clearly a huge gamble in light of the negative reception Morty's solo episode received. Moving away from the main versions of the characters had the potential to go horribly wrong, given how important Rick and Morty are to the show's popularity. Fortunately, the Rick, the Mort and the Ugly has been the most unusual episode of Season 8 so far. Even though people will always argue about their favorite adventures, Rick and Morty Season 5's depiction of what happened to the Citadel after it was destroyed was incredibly compelling, particularly from the viewpoint of those who lived in what was left of the famous site. Although the show's main characters could have enjoyed exploring the Citadel's ruins, it was much more interesting to see this place from the perspective of the locals. The idea that Homesteader Rick would be the only Rick living in the Morty section of town was intriguing, but from Arcade Morty's perspective, who truly fears this trauma, watching the Rick clones exploit the Morty clones for their own benefit was far more thrilling. It was refreshing to see the parallels and discrepancies between Homesteader Rick, Arcade Morty, and the show's main protagonists. It also demonstrated that other iterations of the main characters are equally fascinating as the original pair. Additionally, it increases the likelihood that Arcade Morty will make an appearance in the future. I hope Rick and Morty continue to take chances like this, especially since The Rick, the Mort and the Ugly is my personal favorite episode of Season 8 thus far.